Alright, what's up boxing fans? It's Aztec 101 in the ring. I'm back to doing videos. I missed posting after the Errol Spence Peterson fight. I watched the fight, but I just didn't post after that. It was a good fight, great fight. I didn't do a prediction video for it either, but I was really excited about the matchup. I really thought that Lamont Peterson was going to go in there and try to use his experience, try to do what he did with Danny Garcia, which was start slow and then take him into deep waters later on in the fight. But it didn't even get that far, right? Errol Spence finished the job. He looked great. And then after that fight, obviously you have talks about what's next for Errol Spence. And the number one name that pops up is Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence. A lot of people are talking about whether Keith Thurman is scared or not. I honestly, I try not to get in. I try not to get into the mentality of labeling a fighter as scared, right? But I feel like, and I've said this before, I'll say it again, haters make fights happen, right? The fans are usually very forgiving. In a Keith Thurman situation, a fan might say, well, he went through surgery, he's healing, he needs to recover. If he takes on another fight, I'm sure after he analyzes how he feels and how his recovery is going, then he'll be more confident, and watch, you're going to see him call out Errol Spence. You're going to see him take that fight. He's not scared, right? Which may be 100% true, but I think that, and I've always felt this, when fighters get pushed by the fans, when the fans start trolling the fighters and telling them, hey, stop being a bitch. Don't be scared. Why are you scared of Errol Spence? You don't want no smoke. You don't want to fight Errol Spence, Stop ducking Errol Spence. Once you start getting everyone on the bandwagon and people actually start pushing onto Keith Thurman, it's going to build the fight. It's going to build the fight and secure the fight. I think that it's a necessary evil, right, in a sense, to have the haters come in and talk like this about fighters. I think it helps the fight. This is the kind of, talk that fueled Triple G and Canelo. Right? It helped make the fight. And guess what? The fight happened. It just didn't happen exactly when you guys wanted it to happen, because we as boxing fans, we always want the next big fight to happen next. And it doesn't always happen that way. But as long as the fight takes place, I think we'll all be happy. This is the type of fight that could be a big fight, a pay-per-view fight, right? They're the two biggest names in the division, yet right now they don't draw crowds like they should. I don't think this is a case of the fight won't happen because, Keith Thurman is scared. I think the fight won't happen because the fight's not ready to happen. Some of you want to see the fight, but not enough of you for this to be worth it to Al Haymon. Al Haymon, I don't think, is ready to risk one of these fighters losing their titles and then at the same time not making the money that should be made on a fight like this. This is a big fight. These are two of the top names in the welterweight division. This is number one, number two going against each other. And there should be a build-up. There should be a build-up. There should be a campaign. This should last about, I'm thinking reasonably you might get this fight late 2019, right? Maybe mid 2019, but you're not going to get it this year. I don't think it's a good idea to put this fight up this year. One, like I said, they're not drawing crowds. That's number one. Number two, we don't know under what condition Keith Thurman is coming in at. We don't know what condition he's in. He could come back and he could look spectacular, or he could come back and look worn down. You know, all these injuries, they're miles on a fighter, and Keith Thurman has a lot of miles on him for being a young fighter. He has a lot of injuries, you know, and having a fighter like that, you know, it's kind of hard to think about even how I don't know how effective will he be against a Jesse Vargas. I know they were talking about Jesse Vargas fighting Keith Thurman. It's hard to tell whether he would even be effective against Vargas because we haven't seen him come back. So I think it's necessary that he takes up a tune-up. I think I was excited about the Vargas fight, but at the same time, I do think that it's probably a little bit too much of a dangerous fight for Keith Thurman. I think that if anything, he needs to fight a light touch. A light touch. Maybe not too light, but he needs to fight someone. Someone that I don't know exactly. I haven't looked at the rankings. I don't know who's up there, but maybe not someone in the top 3. Maybe fight someone in the top, you know, go from whoever's ranked to number 5, number 6, number 7. You have options. Pick someone in the top 10 that's a light touch, and get your first fight out of the way. Then by late 2018, have a big fight. Have a big fight with Jesse Vargas. You know, have a fight with maybe, you know, cross the lines into Bob Arum territory and take on, I don't know, Crawford. I think is too dangerous right now. I think Jeff Horn is too dangerous. I think Manny Pacquiao is too dangerous. I think all these guys right now are too dangerous for Keith Thurman. I mean, Keith Thurman, we don't know how he's going to perform after this. Now, obviously, if he comes back and he looks healthy and he looks 100%, then those fights are not too dangerous. They're reasonable. The last thing I want to see is I don't want to see a fucking Keith Thurman and Sean Porter fight. That fight already happened. I'm done. I'm over it. I don't want to see that again. Please don't waste my time with a fucking unnecessary rematch. You know, stop wasting people's time with Keith Thurman. Put Keith Thurman up against fucking heavy hitters. He's not getting any younger. He's not getting any younger. He's not getting any healthier. He needs to fucking fight and fight someone good. So, as much as I want to see him recover to 100%, there's only so much you can do for that person until he becomes he becomes a liability to the actual division. Because you can't be sitting there after every other fight, you get injured, and then you're holding on to these titles, and you have these top talented fighters that are fighting each other, but they don't have a shot at your title because you got a boo-boo. You know what I mean? And you got to take care of your boo-boo. Oh, man. Poor little Thurman, right? I also don't want to baby Thurman. I think he's talented. I think he can beat all the fighters at welterweight. He has the talent to do it, but is he in the condition to do it? You know what I mean? Is he in the condition to do it? I don't know. What do you guys think? Honestly, as far as this fight going down, I visualize this happening in 2019. Al Haymon, he's in no rush to put his champions together, to make his champions fight each other. We see this in the junior middleweight division, right? He's got most of the titles under his banner. You know, one of the fighters that are under his contract has a title in the junior middleweight division, pretty much, and they're not fighting each other. So, you know, what's the chances that he's going to make them fight each other in 2018 in the welterweight division? And the welterweight division is just getting hot, so I think he sees that there's money to be made there. So there's no reason to rush it. I have a feeling there's going to be a light touch, but there's so many other fighters that could be moving into welterweight that's going to make everything interesting. I mean, if you put in Crawford, and and let's say they're willing to put in Manny Pacquiao up against either Keith Thurman or Errol Spence. That's huge. That's huge, and that might not happen either. Crawford might not even fight Keith Thurman or Errol Spence until way down the line, because he might be preoccupied with Lucas Matisse. He might fight, first Jeff Horn, then Lucas Matisse, then maybe Manny Pacquiao, and then maybe a Jesse Vargas fight or something like that. Like I could see Crawford having a string of fights in-house before he actually gets to Errol Spence and Keith Thurman. Plus, maybe it's a game of chicken too. Maybe it's a game of chicken. Maybe it's a game of Al Haymon wants one of his fighters to be undisputed, and the way he sees it is that if he makes Errol Spence and Keith Thurman fight, then that leaves him to one fighter with all three titles, with most of the titles. So if Crawford comes in and beats that one fighter, that's it. Crawford's undisputed at 147. And there's no one else to dispute that, right? But by leaving these belts separated, if Keith Thurman fails, he could throw in Errol Spence, right? So there's a backup plan. And I think they're eyeing Crawford. There might be eyeing Crawford. I don't know. What do you guys think? There's so many different scenarios this can go, Who knows? Maybe by the end of the year, Errol Spence and Keith Thurman fight, and Al Haymon surprises us. I don't see it happening, but that could happen. I personally wouldn't bet money on it, but you never know. 2017 has been a great year for boxing. I think 2018 is going to raise the bar. We already have the announcement of Canelo Triple G rematch. I mean, a lot of people years ago, they were saying this fight would never happen. Now we have a rematch. So boxing's doing really well for itself. What do you guys think? Do you think Keith Thurman is ducking Errol Spence? Do you think Errol Spence and Keith Thurman will fight anytime soon? I also want to know, do you guys think that Al Haymon will be willing to risk losing an undefeated fighter and having their titles lost before putting them in the ring against someone like Manny Pacquiao or Terrence Crawford, or even Jeff Horn? If Jeff Horn ends up, through a miracle, ends up somehow beating Crawford, he's going to be a big name. He's going to be a really big name. And I don't know, but I'm excited for the 147-pound division. Tell me what you guys think. It's Aztec 101 in the ring, and I'm out.